Hey everybody, how's it going? This is the Scrapper Tap Podcast, and I'm Jared Cole. Today I'm going to be going over UFC 251. I'm going to be breaking it down and giving you my predictions. It's going down this Saturday, July 11th, man. It is a stacked card, and we got it. We finally got it. We got Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal. It's going down. Burns was originally supposed to take on Usman, failed his test. COVID test, and now Jorge Masvidal has stepped up on 6-day notice, and we're ready to go, man. It's going to be a stacked card. So here shortly, I'm going to go over the main card first, and then I'll fire through my prelims picks, because there's quite a few fights. I think there's 13 fights on this card, and man, it's a pretty solid stacked lineup, especially that main card. A lot of really good fights. But first, I'm going to do a very quick recap of UFC Fight Night Poirier versus Hooker. Man, it was a fun night. I did all right. I believe I went 6 for 10, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, or 6 for 11. I'm not sure how many fights there is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, 11. So I think it was 6 for 11. Yeah, man, I did all right. But when it came to the main card, I think I had a perfect night. So I'll start there. I got the whole main card right, so that was a solid dub for me. We had Maurice Green beating Vellante. I had Allen taking out Dawkins. I had Mike Perry beating Gall, which he did in dominant fashion. I told you didn't need a coach for that one. He got it done. Yeah, we'll see how he looks in the future and see what it holds. Hopefully he finds himself a camp. That's Mike Perry. And then Dustin Poirier versus Dan Hooker, man. We had a brawl, possibly fight of the night. I think is going down to that one. And Joanna and Zay Langui. That was a great fight early off in the year. I believe that was like in January. I think it's between those two. This is definitely one of the better male fights we've had. We had quite a few, man, especially in quarantine. We had some good ones. The Burgos and Emmett fight was great. And the following week, Dan Hooker and Poirier lived up to it, man. That was a great fight. So, like I said, I believe I went 6 for 11. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the main card, I had a perfect night. So it wasn't too bad, man. And now we're off to UFC 251 in Fight Island. Man, I think it's going to be a great card. Hopefully everybody stays. I'm recording this on a Tuesday. I actually recorded one on Friday and was going to drop it Saturday morning. And then I got the news about the Usman and Burns fight. I got the news about Burns. So luckily I didn't put that out. And yeah, man, luckily I waited till this week. And I believe we got ourselves a full card, and I hope nobody drops out, man, because right now this is a super stacked lineup, 3 title fights, and man, I'm ready for it. So here we go. We're gonna start off my predictions for the main card of UFC 251, and then, like I said, I'll go through the prelims. All right, so first, starting off the main card, we have the minus 850 Amanda Ribas versus Paige Van Zandt, the plus 525. Now, I did not expect the odds to be that leaning towards Ribas that much. Definitely should be leaning towards Ribas. I think she can control this on the ground, basically anywhere. Van Zandt has decent stand up, pretty crisp boxing, but I think Ribas is just as good, slightly longer, and just the ground control. I think she can make this her fight. I know Paige Van Zandt, I think like her last 6 fights, she's coming like with 3 or 4 wins. So, almost like a 500 in the last 6 fights. She's coming off a win over Ostovich. Yeah, man. So Paige Van Zandt, there's a lot of things going on with her outside the octagon, talking about money, that she could be making more money elsewhere, that if she had a regular job, she would have been still making the same amount of money because she's making money off of Instagram and modeling and stuff like that. And that's all cool, man. But when you're facing killers and top caliber opponents like Amanda Ribas, you don't want any distractions going into the fight. And I think that could be a big killer for her. So a couple wins that stick out for Amanda Ribas recently. We got Mackenzie Dern, Emily Whitmire, and Marcos. Those are all tough fights. And, man, she's looked good. So I'm going to have to lean towards Amanda Ribas. Um, she's the biggest favorite on the card, and I see why. I think she has more paths to victory than Paige, and I see it going down in submission. So I'm going to go a second round submission by Amanda Ribas. All right. Next, we got a really good banger. I've been looking forward to this. Ever since they started to talk about the rematch, we got the plus 170 Jessica Andrade versus the minus 210 Rose Namajunas. So, if y'all remember the first fight these two had, I believe it was last year. Rose Namajunas was picking her apart for the first round and a half. She was just using her speed, the footwork. She's just a long, lankier fighter with real crisp boxing. She has nice kicks, and I see her doing the same thing, trying to do the same thing she did for the first in the first fight, keeping that distance. So Andrade actually had a couple attempts at that pile driver that she got. She ended up slamming Rose on her head in the mid-second round, I believe, and knocked her out. But she tried a couple times, and when she would slam Rose knew what to do with her feet. She positioned just correctly to be slammed and make sure she didn't land on her head or face or anything. And she was doing really good for the first two attempts. But the third time it got her, man. And I could see Jessica Andrade kind of doing the same style, trying to take her down, whether they're slams or just pin her against the fence and doing trying to get her to the ground and do the groundwork, because I don't think she has the same stand up as Rose. Now this should be a 3-round fight, not a title fight, so I think that's actually leaning towards Rose. Because I think if she can get through. Just because I could see Rose finishing it. I could see her finishing it. Maybe by TKO. Maybe even find herself a submission after beating her pretty good. But the fact that Jessica Andrade is stronger and just needs that one slam. I see that really being her only path to victory is taking down Rose and controlling the fight. And winning it like that. I don't see her outstriking Rose or submitting her. I'm taking Rose Namajunas. I'm thinking she's going to do the same thing she did that first round, except keep it going for another round and a half and get it done in 3. I'm going to go by decision because I think Andrade is, she's a tough fighter, but I could see a TKO or something like that. But I'm going to go with Rose Namajunas to get the win by decision. All right, next, we got the first title fight of the night. Man, it's going to be a good one. We got the youth versus, the legend, the older fighter, the vet. We got the minus 250 Peter Yan versus plus 195 Jose Aldo. I'm going to start with Jose Aldo. So he's actually coming off 2 losses. His last fight, I personally think he beat Marias. So did Dana White, and so did a lot of other people. So it is what it is. They gave him this title fight, man. They acted like they took that L and basically treated it like he won that fight. And I'm not mad at it, man. I think Jose deserved it. He dropped down. He showed that he had the discipline to get to 135. And to me, I think he looked good. I think he outstruck Marias, and I think he deserved that win. So now, and we cannot sleep on Aldo and forget what he did in the past. He is a legendary bantamweight fighter. At the 145 for a long time, and there's good reason, man. This guy is a beast, all the way from kicks, to working that body. He is a good, solid fighter, and man, don't be sleeping on him. I could see him using those leg kicks a lot, trying to outpoint Peter Yan in this one, because I don't think he's going to be able to stop Peter Yan. Now, Peter Yan, he's a very durable, tough dude, man, and he's good with that punching, and he'll throw them kicks all day as well. Yeah, man, I think just the youth is going to get there. I think he might be a little quicker than Jose Aldo as well. I'm not 100% on that, but yeah, I'm gonna have Jose Aldo in quite a few DraftKings lineups, and it's a very good underdog play if you're trying to make some bets. But I gotta go with the youth. I gotta go with the power. I'm gonna take Peter Yan to get the win. And I think if Peter Yan does it, I think it's going to be by TKO. I think he's going to stop this. Yeah, Peter Yan by TKO over Jose Aldo. All right, next we got another title fight. It's another rematch. Oh, man, this one I think can still fight of the night. There's so many good fights. I'm not making no call for who's getting fight of the night, but this is going to be a really good one. We got the minus 235 Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway, which is the plus 185 underdog. I think it should be slightly closer, but, Volkanovski kind of, owned the first matchup. He ran away with it. He really did. Max was there, but he just couldn't keep up with Alexander Volkanovski's leg kicks. And, Volkanovski came in there and fought a really, really smart fight. Now Max is going to have to switch it up a bit. I don't see him trying to take him down or do anything like that. I could see Alexander actually going for a shooting before Max. But I think Max is going to know... I think he knows what he has to do to get this done. I like Max Holloway a lot. So I'm going to try not to let my, the fan in me lean towards Max. But I'm going to, man. I think it should be slightly closer. I think Volkanovski is a beast. He's tough. And if he gets this win, I think he can run this division for a good while. Yeah, man, but I got faith in Max that he's going to make the switches that he needs. I heard something that he wasn't sparring, due to all the COVID situation going on and the training situation, that he wasn't doing much sparring. And he said something to the extent, at this point in his career, he doesn't really need to be doing all that. He knows how to strike. So he just needs to be ready, tune himself up. And I see that, man. I see that to be true. He's still such a young fighter, so I'm not counting him out. Like, he's not one of those guys that won the title and then fell off and he's just old. And, no, he could still learn every single fight. And I think he's going to learn from that Volkanovski fight. The first fight, and I think he's going to come in here and outpoint, and I think he's going to win the decision over Volkanovski. And I've actually already put a little bit of money on that, just a friendly bet, and I took Max Holloway. So I'm going to do that again, and I'm going to go by decision over Volkanovski. All right, and then we move to the main event, man. We got the banger, the minus 280 Kamaru Usman, the Nigerian Nightmare, versus the plus 220 Jorge Masvidal, Gamebred, also known as Gamebred. Man, this is going to be a good one. It's coming on 6-day notice. We weren't sure if we were getting this one. I honestly didn't think Masvidal was going to be able to pull the trigger in those 6 days. It was already tough to... because they tried to originally get this fight going, and they weren't able to due to money issues, contract, whatever. But they got it, man. They got it. It's going to be a great fight. We know what Jorge Masvidal has done recently. He beat Nate Diaz. I know it was a doctor, due to a cut. They stopped it a little early, but man, he was working him. I think, did they stop it in the fourth or going into the fifth? I think it was the fourth, I'm sorry. And I'm pretty sure Jorge Masvidal won the first 3 rounds. Some say Nate was going to kick it in, but unfortunately we didn't get to see that. And, so taking from that fight, man, he looked sharp. He looked good. Before that, he knocked out Ben Askren, and with that flying knee, it went viral, and now that really put Jorge Masvidal on everybody's maps, on their map. And he's a great fighter, and I enjoy watching him. But man, that really he became that that he has that star power now, and a lot of people are liking him and are going to think he's going to take out everybody in that division. And the guy, that can stop him. That's the champion, Kamaru Usman. He's a scary dude. His last fight was against Colby Covington, and he ran that. It was actually a pretty close fight. A lot of people had it going 2-2 going into the 5th, but then Kamaru Usman stopped him. I almost had it like 3-1, and then he stopped him. But it was a super close fight. And that just showed It just showed the beast that Kamaru Usman is. He took on a wrestler, which they both basically stood up and were striking basically the whole time. And Usman got it done and looked very good in that one. And before that, of course, he took the title from Tyron Woodley. Same way, he won kind of the same way Burns did, but I think even in better fashion. More dominant fashion. Just literally, I think he lost every round just about to Usman. And I think Kamaru Usman's there to stay, man, for a good while. I think there's going to be a lot of good matchups for him in the next year or so. And, definitely someone can take him out, but I don't know if it's Jorge Masvidal's time. I don't want to blame it on the 6 days either. If he had a full camp, it could be different. But this is almost like a win-win for Jorge Masvidal. If he wins, he sets this legacy. He's the BMF champ. Now he's the actual champion in his division. And it just, man, the last couple years he's had, it built his legacy and created the fighter he is now. And if he loses, he gets to say he took it on 6-day notice. It was, during COVID, it's a tough time. And if he loses, he might be a fight or two away from being right back at another title shot. So it's a smart play by Masvidal. Get it done, get that money. I hope he got near what he wanted. Hope he's happy with it, and I think it's gonna be a great fight. But I'm gonna go with the wrestler over the striker. I know they both got wrestling backgrounds. Jorge Masvidal, he grew up, or in his college days with man, I can't even remember his name. MAGA boy. Anyways, yeah, he grew up wrestling, man, and I think it's going to be the striking that's going to get it. I don't think his striking is going to be able to get it done because Usman's a tough striker himself, man. And I'm going to take Kamaru Usman to get it done. I'm going to take him to get it done, and I think it could be a decision. I don't think he's going to knock out or submit Masvidal. I think Masvidal is going to hold his own, but I think it's going to be like a 4-round-to-1 type of thing. And yeah, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Usman stops it late, like the 4th or 5th round, because Masvidal hasn't had quite a full camp. He might be a little tired, gas himself a little bit. I saw him eating pizza today. Today's Tuesday. Supposedly he stopped on the way to Fight Island and got a pizza. Do I know how? I saw the pictures. Can there be some type of edit? I don't know how you're supposed to be losing 22 pounds and eating pizza, but that's game bread for you, man. So like I said, I'm going to take the wrestler Kamaru Usman over Jorge Masvidal. I also have another friendly bet with a buddy of mine, and I'm taking Kamaru Usman to get it done, man. It's going to be a great fight. That's UFC 251. That's the main card. Oh, I'm sorry, and it just popped up about who I blanked on Colby Covington's name. Jorge Masvidal, went to college and was real good buddies with Colby Covington, and from not just talk, but the video footage that was out, Jorge couldn't quite keep up with Colby Covington's wrestling. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, if they were fighting each other, I would probably lean towards Colby Covington, even though I like Jorge Masvidal a lot. I like him as, I prefer him as the fighter and a better person, but you can't look past these guys' strong suits. And Kamaru Usman beat Colby Covington pretty, I don't want to say easily. It was a really tough, good fight. But if Jorge and Colby were going at it, it would be tough for me to not lean towards Colby. So it just kind of like, makes me lean towards Usman even more, for finishing Colby. Either way, man, it's going to be a great fight. I'm so glad they got this done with. I'm so stoked to watch this fight. But Kamaru Usman versus George Masvidal, it's going down, and I got Kamaru Usman. So now I'm going to make a quick run through the prelims. There's quite a few fights on here, so I'm not going to make them too long. I'm going to give my picks and a quick reason why. So first, and these might be out of order because I was going off the odds, the bookies pages. Like I didn't go straight off of the UFC website. So this could be slightly off in order, but these are all the fights. So we got the minus 185 Martin Day taking on Davey Grant, the plus 150. So Davey Grant got the experience over him. He's had more fights in the UFC. He beat Cheeto Vera back in the day, back in 2016. That looks good. But nothing really stuck out too much on Davey Grant. He's a good fighter, kind of like a decision fighter. It is what it is. And then you got Martin Day, which is the favorite. He only has one fight in the UFC, and it's a loss to Lee. I don't know. I like Martin Day. I think he's going to be growing. He's still young. I think he's going to grow every fight. I think that loss is going to help him in the long run. I know he was in the Contender Series as well. He does a lot of like flashy spinning back kicks. He uses his legs. I think most of his wins came by submission. But I could see like a TKO in this one, man. I think he's gonna get it done standing, maybe with like a nice like little kick, like maybe lands a kick that kind of flashes Davey, and then he comes and gets the TKO. I'm gonna take Martin Day to get the win over Davey Grant. And then next we got the -235 Carol Rosa versus Vanessa Mello, the +185. So, all right. The thing that stuck out first was the age. So we got Carol Rosa at age 25 and then Mello at age 32. So Rosa got the youth. Mello is also winless in the UFC. I honestly think that Carol Rosa is a little bit better in every position, so I'm gonna take Carol Rosa to get it done, most likely by decision over Vanessa Mello. So I got Carol Rosa. All right, next we got the -185 Ralun Paiva versus Zalgus Zumagulov, the +150 underdog. I'm sorry if I butcher any of these names. There's quite a few names from overseas. That's why we're having it in Fight Island. So if I butcher anything, I'm sorry. But this one's going to be a good one. So Paiva in the UFC is 1-3. His last one was a KO. He looked good, man. I like him. He knocked out De La Rosa last. He looked good. And so this Zumagulov guy, I watched a fight in a different promotion. He's making his UFC debut, and he beat Tyson Nam, which we just saw knock somebody out a couple weeks ago in the UFC. But honestly, he didn't look that good. It looked like he's a point fighter. He's kind of, he's real small, not too long of a reach, and I think he just tries to outpoint fighters. He gets the wins by outpointing and decisions. I just see Paiva being longer and just being able to outpick him and outwork him, and I honestly think it's going to go down to a KO. So I'm taking Ralin Paiva to get the KO over Zumagulov. All right, next we got Marcin Tybura, the -115. So it's a pick'em. We got the -115 Marcin Tybura versus Alexander Romanov, which is another -115. So it's a pick'em. So I checked out this guy. Another guy making his UFC debut is Romanov. And, man, he is a big boy. He's a super big dude. I watched him fight, obviously, in a different promotion. And what really just stuck out is how big he is. He didn't look like the most athletic, but if he gets on top of you, man, he got that ground and pound. The fight I saw him, that's what he did. He got on top of his opponent, ground and pound him. I didn't know the opponent, so it's not like it was an old UFC guy or anything, but he looked good. He did look good, but I think the experience is just gonna should help Tybura out a lot. His last fight, he beat Spivak, which looked pretty good. Spivak beat Tuivasa, which like I said, I enjoyed. I like Tuivasa a lot. Saw him as a prospect, still can be, but for Tybura to take him out, I just don't think Romanov's going to be able to give him enough trouble. There is a path to victory. He can get on top of him. He can land that KO. He's big. I'm telling you, he got the one-punch KO power. But I just didn't see enough to take Romanov over Tybura. I think the UFC experience is going to get it done. So I'm taking Marcin Tybura. Let's go with a decision or a KO. I mean, it's the big boys, so I could see a KO going down. All right. Next, we got the -120. Makwan Amerikami versus Danny Henry, the +160. American is the -120 favorite. All right, man, this one's going to be a good fight. I kind of went back and forth on this one, but I'm going to make this one simple. I'm going to stick with the favorite. I'm sticking with Americani. Yeah, man. So I just think he's going to outstrike him. I think it's going to be a TKO type of decision. I think they're both going to come out banging. Danny Henry's a good fighter. I had to look at it. A little bit and check out some old fights because I wasn't too sure who I was leaning with. I think this is one that on DraftKings you could kind of use both guys. I don't see, like, if Danny Henry came out and gets the win, like a decision win, he might not score a lot, but I could see that going down, and it wouldn't surprise me. But I'm going to take Makwan Amerikani to get the win. And then we got the minus 120 Muslim Salikov versus the minus 110 Alizu Zaleski Dos Santos. We're just going to call him Dos Santos. So I've seen Dos Santos fight quite a few times, man. He's a stud. He's a big, tough dude. I think he's going to come in looking for a brawl. And, man, you can't sleep on Salikov, which is an undefeated fighter as well. I think he's going to try to probably get it to the ground, use his wrestling. I could be totally wrong on that, but I'm going to take Zaleski Dos Santos to get it done. And I would not be surprised TKO. So I'm going to go with the TKO stoppage for Dos Santos. And then we got Leonardo Santos minus 185 favorite over Roman Bogatov, the plus 150 underdog. I was looking at it, man. So there's a big age gap. Leonardo Santos is 40 years old, but a killer. Has some big wins over some opponents, man. And I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm sticking with Leonardo Santos to get it done. I like his style of fighting, and I think it's going to be a stand-up brawl. I could be totally wrong, but I like that. I'm gonna go with the decision, Leonardo Santos. All right, and then the last one for the prelims, we got the minus 170 favorite Volkan Ozdemir versus Jiri Prochazka plus 140. Anyways, so I watched a fight, the Jiri Prochazka fight. And he KO'd somebody. It was in a different promotion. I mean, he looked pretty good. I just don't think he's going to be able to live up to Volkan Ozdemir. He has some big wins. He beat Latifi and Rakic. I think experience and just boxing power. I think Ozdemir's the better boxer. I think it's going to be a stand-up brawl, and I think Ozdemir's going to tough this one out and get it done. And I'm going to go with TKO. Or second round TKO. All right, man. So those are my prelims. And I'm going to go over the main card one more time because I know those are the big fights. That's what everyone's really, really here to see. So we got Amanda Ribas taking out Paige Van Zandt. We got Rose Namajunas beating Andrade. We got Peter Yan to stop Jose Aldo. We got Max Holloway to find a way and beat Alexander Volkanovski. And then we got Kamaru Usman getting it done over Jorge Masvidal. And these are going to be some great fights. I'm looking forward to it this Saturday, July 11th, UFC 251. This is the Scrapper Tap Podcast. Thanks for tuning in.